We're at week 4 already. Seems hard to believe, really. We are almost halfway through the course. This is an unusual week. I've written an announcement about it, and I hope you'll refer to that written announcement as well as this video. But let's go over a little bit what we're doing this week. We're talking about courtroom personnel. Who are the people that you encounter in a courtroom, and what are the roles that they play? Your interview this week, which is the short paper substitute, will get you into that atmosphere a little bit more in depth, at least for one role. But let me give you an overall picture for those of you who don't spend much time in courtrooms or have never been in one. Of course, you're going to have a judge, or you're going to have somebody who is a judge substitute, a magistrate or a hearing officer, administrative officer, those sort of things. But let's just call that person a judge. He or she is the person who's in charge of two things, basically. The overall decorum of the courtroom, how people are behaving, the order in which they speak, and so forth. And also, if there is a jury, instructing the jury on what the law is. And also then being a sort of referee in a trial, especially when it's a trial by jury. And what I mean by that is that the judge enforces the rules of procedure and the rules of evidence, and also keeps order in the courtroom in a metaphorical sense. If actual order, physical order, has to be kept, usually you rely on the bailiffs to do that. The bailiffs are other personnel who are in the courtroom, and they are usually sheriff's deputies, but they might be a special court officer selected just as a bailiff or a so-called court officer. But they are law enforcement personnel who, in this day and age, usually are armed and are stationed in a couple of places, usually at the entrance to the courtroom, sometimes also beside the judge's bench. They move around wherever they're needed. And their purpose, obviously, is to maintain the actual physical order of the courtroom and to make sure that the courtroom is a secure place to be and a safe place to be. The other people you'll always encounter in the courtroom is someone who represents the court clerk's office. It may be the actual court clerk, but most likely it's going to be a deputy clerk whose job it is to sit beside the judge, to hand the judge papers, exhibits, etc., to maintain the paperwork that is used in the trial. If there are exhibits, the court clerk is the one who keeps them in order and keeps them in the proper custody, numbers them and so forth, notes that they've been seen by all the attorneys and the judge. The court clerk is there, in other words, as sort of the right-hand assistant to the judge. There may also be a court reporter, that is to say somebody, if it's a jury trial especially, but also a bench trial in a court of record, there will be a court reporter. That's somebody whose job it is to take down literally every word that is said in the courtroom. That's a difficult job, and there are lots of different methods that court reporters use to do it. Some of them, and this is a wonderful thing to watch, some of them speak into what's called a steno mask, and it's a little oval plastic thing that goes over the nose and mouth, and they're actually talking to it like this. And they're actually repeating every word that everybody in the courtroom says, which sounds a lot easier than it is because, as in life, people are talking over each other. It's not just one person speaking or in an orderly way, one at a time. No, the judge will be talking and the lawyers will be talking and sometimes the witness will be talking, and the court reporter's job is to get all of that down verbatim. Very, very difficult job. The other people in the courtroom sometimes are there, sometimes are not, and that is the jury. The jury is a fact-finding body. Their job is to determine what the actual facts of a case are. That's not the judge's job. Certainly it's not the lawyer's job. It's not the witness's job. It's the jury's job to evaluate all of the exhibits and the testimony that they see and hear, and they then retire into their deliberation room and they decide what actually happened in the case. If it's a criminal case, they have to decide the guilt or innocence of the defendant. If it's a civil case, they have to decide the liability of the defendant or the lack of it, whether the plaintiff has proven a good case to show that the defendant was liable. And if so, in some states, the jury also, in a civil case, will set the amount of the award to the plaintiff. Sometimes that's the judge's job. In a criminal case, the judge usually is the one who imposes a sentence, although there are some states that allow the jury to do that. And those are the basic personnel in a courtroom, apart from, of course, the parties to the case and the lawyers. The parties to the case in a criminal case are the state, which obviously is not there literally, but is represented by the prosecuting attorney, and the defendant, who is there in person unless there's some really good reason for him or her not to be there, and his or her lawyer. Of course, there may be more than one lawyer on both sides. In a civil case, each party will be there, and their lawyer or lawyers will also be there. So you've got lots of lawyers and the parties and the judge, the court reporter, the court clerk, the bailiffs, and possibly a jury. So those are the people who inhabit the courtroom on a regular basis. Most courtrooms also have a gallery, that is to say a seating for the public, because trials are public events. Some of them are sealed if it's a juvenile trial, for instance, but most trials are open to the public so that you can just go in and watch if you want to. And those are not court participants. Those are not the kind of people that you can interview as a part of this assignment for this week. But there is usually a number of seats for the public to watch a trial. So those are the people whom you'll find in a courtroom. And your interview this week should be amongst one of those people. You can interview a judge or a clerk or a deputy clerk or a bailiff or a court reporter or one of the attorneys or some other member of staff who regularly makes an appearance in the courtroom. That will be your choice. And I know for some of you it's going to be very difficult to get to an actual court or to get to a place where you can interview somebody in person. If that is a difficulty, please try to find an alternate way to conduct your interview. You can do it by email with written questions, or you can do it over the phone. I suppose you could do it by text message. I think that would be a cumbersome and difficult thing to do, but if you want to, you could do it that way. Just document it, please. You can do it a video, sort of like I'm doing now, except a two-way video so that you can actually see the person you're interviewing on camera. You're very resourceful people. You'll think of something. Please, if you're having extreme difficulties, let me know that right away so that I can try to help you a little bit. For your discussion board this week, we're going to be children again, and we're going to play a little game that you probably have played at least once or twice in your life called rock, paper, scissors. In this context, it's a very artificial game. Well, it's always a very artificial game, but you are going to try to compare the roles of two people who are courtroom personnel. Say, for instance, you write their names. You don't have to do this literally, but you can. Write their roles on little pieces of paper, put them in a bowl, and mix them up, and then draw two of them out. And let's say you draw a judge and court reporter. And you have to try to compare the roles that those people play in the courtroom in terms of the importance that each one has in the courtroom and also in the efficiency of a court system. And then also the power, very much within quotation marks, that each one wields within either the court system or within a courtroom. This is, just go with it, please. It's a game. It's very artificial. This is not how the court actually works. These people are not pitted against each other. In fact, they all work together. But for purposes of this little discussion board, oh, I've lost you. My camera went blank. I hope it didn't for you. For purposes of this discussion board, please take the game seriously just for a few minutes. My video has gone over 10 minutes, which I try not to do, so I'm going to be quiet now. Please let me know as you're getting along with your interview if you have any problems that I can help you with. And the game, just have fun with it and see what you can come up with. Take it seriously enough to really kind of delve into the roles that each person plays and the importance in maintaining an efficient court system. But it is a game, so have fun with it. Bye. Have a great week.